Hello YouTube. This is another magazine I have. When I was a kid, I had a bunch of stuff like this, since I was a huge Dax fan and stuff, or Deep Space Nine and the Next Generation fan. So I got a bunch of these magazines or articles and stuff I'll have to put out there, or make or read out and stuff. And this is one of the Star Trek magazines. They don't really make this kind of thing anymore, obviously, since, Deep Space Nine or the Next Generation is not really on TV anymore like it used to be. Back in the day, I remember when those shows were on TV, and every week they were coming out with a new episode. I thought that was cool. I got to grow up with this stuff, Barnes and Nobles was selling, these kind of magazines and stuff. And yeah, this is, pretty old school. This is another, magazine and stuff where Terry had an article in, or did an article or interview. And this is from, let me see here, this is from 1998, September, and this is in pounds. So wait a minute, did I collect this from, I don't know. Anyway, so that's what it was being sold at, I guess, in pounds. I must have been collecting this stuff from, I can't remember if I bought this here or in Barnes and Nobles. I don't remember where I got this from. Huh. Anyway, Terry's in this article, and it says really old school, and it's titled Farrell's Fate. Exclusive interview with Terry Farrell on her departure. And this has all kinds of, old school stuff from Star Trek. Let me see what page this was on. Oh, page 10, alright. So, oh, there is a picture of Dax, and it has a little paragraph. This isn't the main article apparently, but I just happened to randomly see this with this picture and stuff, and it says Terry Farrell has been cast as the female lead role in the new sitcom Becker, starring Cheers star Ted Danson. Farrell's character, Reggie, is the owner of a diner frequented by Danson's character, Mr. Becker, and the series will most likely begin airing on CBS early next year. In the meantime, Farrell has set to be one of 20 readers of the Titanic disaster hearings, the official transcript of the 1912 senatorial investigation. The audio version of the recent book from Pocket Books. Yeah. And then the main article, Farrell's Fate. And this is, oh wow, this is, holy smoke, this is a very long article, so I'm probably I'm probably going to have to do this in several parts. So alright, if I start reading this, it says, spoiler alert, This interview includes details about the final episode of Season 6 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which some readers may not yet wish to know about. Well, obviously this isn't a spoiler now, but I guess this is, this is really old school, this is from back in the day. We have a picture of Dax and Worf, and I will just start reading this this article. Here's a picture of Dax, or another picture. Alright, so Farrell's fate. As readers know, after months of discussion earlier this year with Paramount Pictures executives, Terry Farrell left the cast of Star Trek Deep Space Nine for good, sealing the fate of her alter ego Jadzia Dax in the final episode of Season 6, Tears of the Prophets. With the episode filmed and now shown in the U.S., Farrell agreed to talk to Star Trek Monthly about Dax's departure and to take a look back at the series, which shot the former model to fame. Interview by Ian Spelling. I am sorry that Jadzia Dax had to die, admits the character's alter ego, Terry Farrell, but I'm happy and I want to celebrate the experience of the 6 years that I had doing Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I knew when I decided to leave the series that they might kill her off. Just trying to straighten this out a little bit. There we go. And I'm okay with them doing that. If she had to die, she had to die. I understand that. I wanted her to live, but producer, writer Ira Stephen Bear explained to me that it was necessary to kill her off. He said it was best for the show and best for Worf, Michael Dorn, that they make a clean break from Dax. The joke I kept telling everyone is that they can just clone Jadzia if they ever want me to come back for a guest shot on the show or for one of the movies. I'm not leaving in some big huff, Farrell explains. There's not a lot of animosity on either side about anything. It was really a very amicable arrangement. It was just time for me to move on, to do other things. I just don't know how else to put it. In the 6th season finale, Tears of the Prophets, that always power-hungry, and in this particular case, Rafe-possessed Cardassian troublemaker Gul Dukat, Mark Alamo, cuts down a Star Trek hero just as Soran Malcolm McDowell did Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner in Star Trek Generations, and Armus Matt Mackenzie did Tasha Yar, Denise Crosby in Star Trek The Next Generation episode Skin of Evil. Compounding the tragedy, the events unfold just after Dax and Worf learn from Dr. Bashir Alexander Siding that Dax is capable of bearing a Klingon child. While Farrell hoped Dax wouldn't perish, she was at least pleased that a character relatively unfamiliar to her and not one of the main cast members did the dirty deed. I didn't work with Mark very much at all over the years, and Dax really didn't have that many scenes with Gul Dukat, Farrell notes. Could you imagine if it had been a possessed Bashir or a possessed Kira Nana visitor who killed me? That would have been terrible, I think. It would have been very hard for the fans to forgive them, even if they were possessed or if it was a mirror version, universe version of the characters. Having Dukat do it made it more sinister. She remarks, it's much more fun to watch a show when you can have a bad guy really be a bad guy. Right now, I don't think a bad guy could get much better than Ducat is. But Mark was... Oh, and just before I go over, it says here, to the next page, it says, wearing the wedding dress in You Are Cordially Invited was like being a little girl again and playing Barbie. Michael Dorn was my Klingon Ken, and I was his leather-clad Barbie. Alright, so the next page it says, but Mark was very funny on the set. He couldn't believe what he was doing. He kept saying, is this really Ducat? Is this really Ducat? This is Ducat possessed, right? Shooting a television series often doesn't make for smooth goodbyes, and in the case of Tears of the Prophets, the production schedule called for Farrell to die before she was shot. In other words, Farrell and Dorn filmed the last encounter between Dax and husband Worf one day, then several days later Farrell and Alamo filmed the sequence in which she is killed. In fact, the shot of Dax lying on the ground after Ducat's attack is Farrell's final moment before a Star Trek Deep Space Nine camera. It was very hard to do that, and very sad too, Farrell recalls. I wasn't doing a scene with any of the actors I had known all this time. The other regulars weren't in the scene with me. Most of the regular crew weren't even on set, but I wanted to play those two main scenes, the death scene and my getting shot, as well as I could, which is why we left them until last. I wanted to do justice to them for the cast, for Ira Beer, who wrote it, and for the fans. But more than that, the more convincing and sad my death was, the better it would be for Michael Dorn and for Worf, because the audience would feel more sympathy for his character. That was very important for me. Leaving aside the events of this sad but griping tale, Farrell agrees to look back on some high points of her days as Dax. She happily tells us her favorite ever episodes, Far Beyond the Stars, as her character wasn't Dax or a Dax variation. Fascination, as she had a chance to play romance and comedy. Playing God, in which Farrell felt she was finally beginning to conquer Star Trek's frustrating technobabble. Blood Oath, which involved lots of action, stunts aplenty, and Klingons actors from the original series. You Are Cordially Invited, as she loved the dress and the bachelorette party, and Change of Heart, in which Dax experienced genuine what? Genuine physical pain rather than just talked about experiencing it, and Worf chose his wife over duty. Alright, so obviously this is a really long article, really big article, and I will be back. Alright, bye.